Right, so in the first video, at the end, I mentioned the concept of grist, which is the term we use for weight, compared to the meterage that we can create, or that we do create from fibre. And really what we're talking about is volume compared to weight. So with this particular jumper, I wanted to, or what I thought I was going to do, was to create something that was very skin soft, and I have achieved that. This is a blend of wool. The wool was it was a Romney Finn Corriedale cross, and then I carded it with probably about 50% alpaca, and also there is some silk in here. It was quite a bulky weight of yarn that was required for this pattern, because from memory, and forgive me if you look it up and it's wrong, but I know it was something like a 6.5 to 7 millimeter needle to attain the gauge. What I hadn't taken into consideration is that whilst alpaca gave it a lovely skin soft feel, it actually added a lot of weight to the jumper. Let me illustrate this way. So each one of these fibres that I put in front of you is 99 grams. Very specific, I know, but the alpaca that I had, the bundle of alpaca that I had, was 99 grams. Now, even if I compress this, here is the alpaca, and you can see that there is far more volume in this 99 grams, far more boof, if you want to put it, in this 99 grams than there is in this. So when you come to spin it, you're going to get far more meterage, well, in actual fact, far more meterage out of the silk, because this also is 99 grams. The loft and the lightness and the ability to create more meterage is definitely in the wool. And so it would be my advice to you that when you're knitting larger projects, that really the main component, the main fibre of your yarn should be the one that has the most volume, and that the other yarns should be like a little sprinkling of salt and pepper, the seasoning in the recipe, rather than the main component of the recipe. Especially if you've got a garment that has needs bulk. It'd be different if it was a finer yarn, but if it's a bulky yarn, it's a garment that's also got a very large neck. I actually increased the height of the polo neck on this garment. Everything that I did actually, or altered, added to the weight of this garment. So just in recap, just remember to consider how much length or volume you will get from a fibre for a certain amount of weight, and adjust your blending of the luxury fibres like your alpaca and your silk to just like a little sprinkling, as I said, just like a seasoning to the recipe. So here we are, we're at the fibre end of the decisions that we have to make, and we've already talked about the fact that the proportion or the volume, and really our measurement will be the weight of each fibre we choose, is important to the weight of the yarn, or how much yarn you get, the meterage of your yarn. So I've worked out that I like, I'll just pop these down here. I worked out that I liked these colours together, and I have some silk here, and I have a little bit of accent wool in the orange colour. Then I have a sort of a soft dove sort of grey, also in a wool. And then I have some, well, it's actually some fleece that has been washed and carded into Batts. Okay, so these are the colours that I'm going to choose for my yarn. So what I've actually chosen is two neutrals. And neutrals will always go together. Obviously, with the amount of fibre in the chocolate brown, my yarn is going to be predominantly that particular colour. I'm going to lighten it up with a little grey. This is wool top. And then my accent colours, this one is silk and this one is wool. My accent colours are actually complementary opposites. I use the this wonderful guide. It's called a colour grid, and it's produced by the Kangaroo Dyer. And you can, if you look at colorgrid.net, it's made in the US. I find it so much more helpful than a color wheel, because I love color, but the theory bogs me down, and the color wheel doesn't tell me enough of what I need to, well, I can't interpret it, let's put it that way. I can't interpret it well enough to match up to the craft that I'm doing. Whereas with this particular color grid, I can say, right, there's the orange, and here is my complementary opposite, which is sort of in these mulberry shades. And I find it very useful for lots of other things, either patchworkers or furnishings or what have you. So, useful tool. So now, what weight would I use? Well, that's where the experiment starts. And we are going to experiment in small amounts. So if it doesn't turn out well, or it doesn't turn out how you would like it, then it's all about personal choice. Then you have only had to process, well, 25 grams. So let me just reach down here and pick up my carder, bending the knees to do so. So here's my drum carder, and the maximum amount of weight fibre that I can get on this drum carder would be approximately just over 100 grams, probably about 110 grams I can get on this if I really pack it down. And I'll show you the process of that. But, you know, to put a whole bat on, it just would be time consuming. So we're going to work in a small strip, and we're going to just apply in a quarter of the capacity of the drum carder. So just over 25 grams. Now, what proportion of colours are we going to put on and what have you? So if I know that my carder is 110 grams and I know that I want the main colour to be the chocolate brown and this to be the next one and these to be the accents, then I will proportion the weight accordingly. And there is a lovely concept that people talk about that's very pleasing to the eye, and it's actually called the Fibonacci concept. And it's where you take a small weight initially, excuse me, a small weight initially, and say if we were working on the whole drum carder here, we would take, say, 16 grams of silk, and we'll take 16 grams of accent colour in the wool, and then you add those two weights together, and so therefore my grey would be 32 grams, okay? And then in the final amount of weight, then what you would do is take this particular weight and this particular weight and this weight together. So we're taking 16 and 32, and of course we then need 48 grams of our chocolate brown. So my advice to you is to write your weights down. As much as you think, I'll remember that, you won't. So write it down. And this is what I also need to tell you, is that in the description of these videos, there you will have a Google Drive link that will give you access to my notes. So you'll be able to access that and print out some worksheets that will help you track what you've actually done in order to repeat for the larger project. And the concept of Fibonacci is written out in that description. So you can always go back and re-watch me, and you can also refer to my notes as well. So what I've got now is the main weights for this. And so therefore, to do a little practice, stripped Batt, I would then just divide these weights by 4. And so I would again then get the relevant weights for each colour. But the other thing that I'm going to do, and I will demonstrate this, is I'm going to do layers of the colours, because the more I scatter the colours, the less likely I will have a pooling effect, and the more likely it will be that the smaller circumference of the sleeve and the larger circumference of the body, when knitted up, will look the same. The more we keep the colours in shallow layers, the better there will be more of a uniformity in your yarn for knitting up a larger garment.